Who was the most dangerous inmate I ever met whilst in Franklin? Well, there was quite a few whilst I was in there. Obviously, the majority of them that are in Franklin are in for murder. Some of them are in for multiple murders, even serial killers. But the most dangerous, as in not for what they've committed outside, but for the crimes that they've committed or the way that they act whilst in prison. People in general, like population sort of thing, on the normal location, so I should say, sorry, you don't actually mix with, as you would call, the most violent inmates or the most violent prisoners, because these are actually on either units by themselves because they're that dangerous, or they're kept down the block in the segregation unit because they pose that much of a risk to other inmates and staff. So there was whilst I was in Franklin, there was some bloke down the block. I can't even remember his name. He'd been down the block for 10 years because he was that violent and that dangerous. If I remember rightly, I'm sure he was Brazilian. I remember the lads telling us, because some of them had seen him before, but they'd only seen him down the block when he got let out for exercise. So when these were down the block as well, the lads that I'm talking about on the wing, obviously when he was let out for exercise, they used to see him out the window, and that was the only time people used to see this man, because he was that dangerous. And when they used to unlock him in the segregation unit, there used to be 10 screws at a time. So when they unlocked his pad, there'd be 10 screws at a time with shields standing back, escorting him out onto the exercise yard in the block, because he was that dangerous. And apparently the man was actually a Man Mountain, big bloke, big, obviously massive bloke. And the reason why he was down the block was, as I've spoke about before on the videos about seeing people getting hot oiled in prison, they call it ghee. Ghee is where they either melt the butter down or use hot oil. So in prison slang or prison terms, they used to say when someone got gheed up, that means when they've had hot oil tipped over them. So this particular, he's a bit like a mythical character that nobody ever sees, and he's hidden away down the segregation unit, but you hear about him. So the reason why he was down there, like I was saying, was he actually gheed a screw up, hot oiled a screw. The story that I'd heard, the screw or whatever, there'd been some altercation on the wing, and he got pissed off with this particular screw, and he's went in the kitchen, boiled a pan of fat oil, walked out onto the landings, just went up and poured it over the screw's head. And believe you me, when this happens, because I've seen it done, when they pour the hot oil over you, it just peels down your face blows up, your face expands, and the skin's just peeling off your face. So that's what he done to the screw. And the screw couldn't live with his injuries after that. He was so disturbed by it and mentally fucked up after that had happened to him. He actually killed himself. And that's why he was put down the block, and he's deemed too unsafe to be left back on the wings amongst the inmates and staff. Because when he was down the block as well, the reason why there's 10 of them with shields was because sometimes when he was getting let out, as soon as the door was open, he was just attacking the screws. The man was a lunatic. But that's one of the people that I'd never actually met him, but whilst I was in Franklin, he was down the block, and he was the most dangerous. But as for people who I met, the one person that sticks out to me, he wasn't actually dangerous in prison whilst he was in there, but when I met him in the gym, I've spoke about him previously, is David Bieber, the cop killer. He killed a copper down near Bradford, I think it was. And when I met him in the gym in Franklin, I spoke to him and I've had a bit chat with him, but when you looked at him, his eyes were just, you see the colour of your eyes, his eyes were just all black, like shark eyes. He just looked like an absolute fucking psychopath. Well, the bloke is a psychopath for what he done to the copper, because when the copper was begging for his life on his hands and knees, he still went and put one in his head and killed him. But he was probably the craziest looking fucker that I'd ever met whilst I was in there. But yeah, that's my take on that one, people. But keep watching, I'll be uploading more videos soon. Take care.